The backlog of testing for COVID-19 has many waiting more than a day for results. Windsor will have its own COVID swab processing facility, but it will still be months before it's operational. A Ward 7 by-election is underway. Pandemic precautions as people vote. The seat, it's been vacant for about a year. Later tonight, we'll find out who joins Windsor's City Council. Gorgeous fall day across Windsor, Essex, and what a weekend it was. 13 degrees outside right now. Wind blowing in from the southwest. Colette Kennedy will join us tonight for a full breakdown of this week's forecast. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. It's official. A Windsor lab is getting the green light to process COVID-19 swabs. It's the first Windsor lab to do so. It's a major step as the province deals with a backlog of tests and puts a halt to walk-in testing across Ontario. The CBC's Katerina Georgieva joins us now from outside Medical Laboratories of Windsor. What have you learned about how this is all going to work out?
Well, Chris, the hope is that this is going to provide some needed relief for our area, alleviate some of that backlog that we've been seeing. And we know that right now, all of our test results for our area are processed in the lab in London. But eventually, this lab right here is where we're going to be getting a lot of our test results in the near future. Though I should mention that there's not going to be any testing on site happening. It's just where they're going to be processing those testing swabs. This is a privately owned lab. It calls itself a community lab and is already fully operational doing other kinds of tests. But what's going to be new and different is that it's ordering a new COVID-19 testing machine. It's called the Panther, and it should be able to process about 800 tests within the span of 16 hours. So the lab is confident that it's going to be able to keep up with demand, provided that testing rates continue the way that they are right now.
What will happen is those swabs that'll be collected at the assessment centers will then be couriered over here, and we'll perform them. We should be able to turn them around same day. So I think that's a huge improvement to containing the virus, and I think it's really going to reduce the anxiety that patients will have about waiting for days not knowing if they're positive or negative.
So the idea is that it's going to focus on community test results, whereas the hospital, for example, which is getting its own testing machine later this month, is going to be focusing on patient test results. Now, I do need to mention that the wheels on this aren't going to be moving anytime soon because the machine has been ordered, but it's not expected to actually be on site until December. And even then, they still need to do validation on it. So just make sure that everything is working correctly before they can start processing those tests.
Now, those tests making a lot of news across the province here, the country as well. The provincial backlog, though, how bad is that? What does it look for our region?
Well, throughout the province, it's actually reached about 80,000 pending tests throughout the province. We don't know exactly what the numbers are locally, but we do know from the local health unit that about 10% of tests are coming back within 24 hours, and then 50% are coming back within 2 days, within 48 hours. So all this is indicative of a backlog at the London lab. However, the Ministry of Health is optimistic that this shift that they're making province-wide to appointment-only testing should help labs deal with this a little bit better. And our local health unit says that Windsor Essex is really well equipped to make that shift.
We've heard some real concerns from other parts of the province where the assessment centers are not ready to offer this appointment-based testing, and they may need at least a week to get up and running. But our hospital, Windsor Regional Hospital, really stepped it up. They had this system in place, and they can take on everyone who's coming in for the appointment. So I think our community, as we have said, I think our community has gone through a lot, and our community is much better prepared than many of the other community.
As for this new testing capability at this lab, the health unit says it's really good news. It'll help our local residents get their test results a lot faster. It'll help with case management. It'll help with contact tracing. So definitely good news. But again, we're not going to be seeing the machine here until December, so we won't be able to know what the impact of it is for some time. CBC did reach out to Ontario Health for more details around this new testing capability, but we have not yet heard back. Chris.
It's just Katerina, the CBC's Katerina Georgieva live tonight. Restaurant and bar owners have had to change how they operate once again. The province has ordered that they stop serving alcohol at 11 and close by midnight. Owners say that they're seeing anywhere from a 20 to 70% drop in business because of that.
it affects my business immensely, seeing that my business, we have a dinner service and then we have a bit of a nightlife. So once you take away the alcohol at 11 o'clock, it kind of ends the nightlife altogether. I'm down. I've got to be down 60 or 70% right now.
It would be better if we had the additional 2 hours, or, there's no question about that. But it's better than a complete shutdown. And anything after midnight, I've been in this racket for 33 years. If you can't get it after midnight, I mean, you're not going to get it. You can't rely on that. You can't rely on the 2 hours after. I mean, it's not going to happen.
We really relied on that late kind of crowd to generate some business, especially during this pandemic. Kind of helped us out a lot in that regard. So it kind of holds us back a little bit from really doing what we want to do and really focusing on that patio and bringing people in. The kitchen open a little bit later, so we're getting people having appetizers out there, and it kind of encourages them to have a few more drinks. So it certainly helps us out in that regard.
So without the alcohol, they just stay away then, eh?
They just stay away 100%.
Without alcohol, I don't know if any restaurant could survive, at a scale like fine dining, like on Erie Street. So definitely the alcohol sales is a big part of our life for sure. For Metso, we've lost about 30% of our business due to calling last call at 11 p.m. A lot of us adapted to the outside with heaters and DJ at nighttime, and spent some extra costs and that stuff to promote it and have people stay here a little later, and now that's gone. So it's definitely hurting our bottom line for sure.
You're running your business day by day. You don't know how many staff you're going to need today based on what decisions are made with the government. We don't know how many staff we're going to need tomorrow, and again, it's tough on the business and it's tough on the employees, and we hope we don't have to go back to the quarantine days where it was just takeout or delivery. We hope it doesn't get back to that, but we have to be ready for everything at this point.
St. Clair College is reporting a case of COVID-19. They say that a student that has been using the labs tested positive. Now, they say that public health is considering the transmission risk to others to be low. Students have been notified. They're asked to self-monitor. The health unit says classmates do not have to self-isolate, and the lab will continue as scheduled. Well into the school year here in Windsor, Essex, with classes both online and in person, past those first few week hurdles. I popped into a virtual classroom to see how teachers are trying to break through screens to teach students and get a sense of what one class is cooking up.
All right, Miss Laffert's going to tilt her camera down so you can see.
Welcome to Amanda Lafferette's virtual classroom.
All right, let's see what our fourth step is.
It may feel a little empty from back here, but it's a high energy lesson when you're in this chair.
How can I do activities in my classroom in my virtual classroom that I would typically do in my physical classroom?
Lafferette's class is all virtual, about 4 hours a day, 10 students between grade 1 and grade 8, a special education class that she runs with the help of development services worker Sandra Marcuzzi, both trying to keep things the same, even though everything is different.
Not everything is transferable, but I do feel like the cooking is something that is transferable, especially because it's an activity that my students enjoy so much. Ms. Leverett's going to do 1 scoop of bananas.
Today, we're learning how to create a yogurt parfait. While slicing strawberries, Lafferette's teaching visual cues. She's also finding that in some ways, she has a better relationship with her students, but especially the parents.
A nice part about virtual learning is our parents are really engaged in our classroom.
Teaching through a screen can be tough. Lafferette signed up for this, comfortable with new technology. Now she wants parents to see what's possible by posting snippets online.
I think it's really important to keep showing the videos because I do think there's a lot of fear about what the virtual school looks like. We know what traditional school looks like. Everybody has been through the process, but we haven't been through the process of virtual school yet. I feel like it shows a little peek into what my virtual classroom looks like, and I'm hoping that that does eliminate some of the fear around the virtual school.
It's clear this class is cooking up something special. And despite the distance, Lafferette sees things getting easier with time, finding what made for a strong lesson plan in the past is especially important in this setting.
Yeah, I think in special education, we use a lot of visuals very naturally in our teaching. Typically, when we're asking a child to look, we might have a core symbol or we might point to our eyes. So in special education, that is kind of a natural part of our teaching. And then when we are teaching virtually, that's even more important.
And while the physical classroom might be empty, the virtual one is full of students ready for their next lesson and enjoying their first taste of virtual learning. In other news, police have charged a Windsor man involved in local theater with sexual assault. They say that they received a report in September from a woman who says she was sexually assaulted in 2014 by a man involved in local theater. While investigating, they found a second victim. She says she was also sexually assaulted by that man in 2014 and 2015. Both women were under the age of 18 at the time. 44-year-old Jeffrey Bastian of Windsor is being charged with multiple offenses, including sexual exploitation and sexual assault. Police are still investigating and believe that there may be more victims. A retired Windsor couple have been looking to give back. They started a chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace in the city, and they've already begun their work to give out beds, as 6 children were orphaned in the area after their parents died suddenly. Jacob Barker has more.
Brian and Terry Sincora had just applied to open a Windsor chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Almost right away, they found a purpose for their decision.
I received a letter through a leadership network that I belong with. And inside the letter, it talked about a story of a family where the parents on September 6th passed away.
The deaths left 6 children between the ages of 3 and 17 parentless and homeless. A call went out from the New Life Fellowship Church where the mother was the daughter of a prayer leader. A family stepped forward to care for the kids. The children's great-grandfather donated a house for them to live in. Also on the list, 2 bunk beds for the younger kids and 2 beds for the older kids.
With my chapter, our chapter in Windsor starting up, it was like, oh my goodness, here's what we were supposed to be doing. Let's get on it.
Sleep in Heavenly Peace started in the U.S. in 2012. It provides beds with all new materials in them for kids who need them. Sincora found 6 of them across the border in Michigan, and a friend who works in the transport industry who was able to cross the border helped get them imported. The beds now lie in wait in the Sincora's garage until the house is ready to move into at the end of October.
With the scenario with this family, everything got fast-tracked, and it just happened. And then like Brian, of course, he gets on it, and the next thing he's got beds in the States, and they're coming across, and he's doing the website, and it's happening.
The church is thankful for everyone that stepped forward.
He introduced the whole program to us, and I just thought that was phenomenal. Not only are they making the bunk beds, but they're making them personalized for each of the children. I thought that was amazing. So again, the city of Windsor, the community has really stepped up to help this family.
This is just the beginning for the Sincoras. They're looking for donations and volunteers to help get more children in the area a restful night's sleep. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
After nearly a year, people in Ward 7 are voting for a representative. This is the by-election they were waiting for. That seat's been vacant for nearly a year, ever since the old councillor went on to federal politics. Now, according to the manager of elections, it's been a busy day down at the WFCU Centre where voting is taking place. And that's where we find the CBC's Dale Molnar, who will be covering the election tonight. Dale, what are you seeing so far?
You're right, Chris. It has been busy since I've been here for a couple of hours, and lineups of cars who are doing the curbside voting, which you can see behind me, which I'll get to in a minute. And people are just coming and going here. The manager of records and elections, Terry Knight-LePayne, believes that there's been about 1,000 people that have come here so far today. You mentioned how Eric Kuzmerchik went on to be the MP for Windsor-Tecumseh. This should have happened last April, but of course the pandemic delayed it. So this is probably the longest it's ever taken to have a by-election in this city. This ward has about 18,000 eligible voters. In the last regular election in 2018, there were just over 6,000 people voted. And in the by-election of 2013, where Eric Kuzmerchik was elected, it was only like 3,600 people that voted. That was a pretty close race. He only edged out Angelo Mariani in that race by about 52 votes. And there were 11 candidates. There's 12 candidates now. So we might be seeing the vote kind of spread out today, and it might be a fairly close race today as well. Now, once again, when I talked to the manager of records and elections, he told me there's been 2,800 people who have voted so far in the advanced voting. You got 1,000 people already today. It looks like this could be one of the more well-attended by-elections in the city. Usually they're not well-attended. We're getting back to the pandemic. Just behind us over there is where you come in. There's a booth kind of like this one. People are being asked to sanitize their hands. They got to wear masks. They're being asked questions. When they get into the gym to vote, they go up to the table. That is sanitized in between each person. They don't use the pencils again, and they also don't reuse the privacy sleeves that the ballot goes into. Those are recycled. Now, once again, I talked to Terry Knight-Lepan about this curbside voting here a little bit earlier.
Officers will ask, are you here for hockey? Are you here for voting? And your options, if you're here for voting, are to stay in line and pull up to our tent curbside, or you're welcome to park in the parking lot and walk in, pass our screening questions, and vote inside the poll. So when you pull up to the curb, we have 6 or 7, I think, DROs out here assisting voters. So we'll ask you for your voter notification card. We'll ask you for your identification. You hang on to both of them. We don't want to touch them. We just want to see them. And then once we're satisfied that you are who you say you are and you are on the voters list, we will get you the ballot. We'll bring it to your car. Same thing with the pen and the secrecy sleeve. You mark the ballot in the privacy of your own car. Our runners or DROs will take the ballot back to the tabulator. We'll run it through, and then we'll come back to your vehicle and say you're good to go.
It was interesting and unfamiliar at the same time, but the protocols put in place were effective and efficient.
Like there is sanitizing stations and everything is in place, so it's good. It's safe.
Now, the polls will stay open until 8 o'clock tonight here, even the curbside voting as well. Stay with us with CBC's website at windsor.cbc.ca for the results when they come in tonight. And also we'll have reports in the morning on Windsor Morning and our newscasts on FM 97.5 here on CBC Radio 1. Chris?
Thanks, Dale. CBC's Dale Molnar live at an election event that is unlike any other we've seen. Something else that you might not have expected to see today, tiki boats on the Detroit River. It is fall, it is cold outside, but it doesn't stop people from doing things you never expect to see. Clint Kennedy is going to join us after the break to talk weather. Joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. Colette, it was a nice weekend, but I don't know if it was tiki boats on the river nice of a Monday. What's this week going to look like for us?
Well, it's almost, we can dream. You know, let's just dream of what it would be like if we weren't in a pandemic, because the weather is almost there in terms of what we're going to be seeing. Wait till you see the 5-day forecast here. I just can't wait to show you that sometimes you get a gift from Mother Nature as we're headed towards the Thanksgiving weekend. We're just about getting there. So we've got some southwesterly winds kind of kicking up. In fact, kicking up this evening and overnight tonight into tomorrow, but they're actually helping to push our temperature up. So that's one thing. I've got some scattered showers in the forecast for Wednesday, but it's a very slim chance we're actually going to see them. So I didn't even put them into the icon. You'll see that in a moment. But the temperature trend is going to be maybe not tiki bar, but for mild conditions. Our average high for this time of year, though, is around 18 still. Today we were a little bit on the cool side, but come on. Current temperature is 14. As long as you get some sunshine, and honestly, on a Monday when you can get some sunshine, that is a good thing. So high pressure kind of in place for us. There's a front that's passing, but it's well kind of to the north. These are those winds, though, first kind of kicking up from the south, and then they're going to be turning more towards the southwest. So that's overnight tonight and into Tuesday. And I do just want to mention for along the shores, for those interests, we will be possibly seeing some problems there. So there could be some concern. They will at least be dying down by tomorrow evening. So do know that. It's kind of a 24-hour thing. But see what happens. Most of this into Wednesday pushes well to the north. So a slight chance for getting some showers coming through. They should be relatively short-lived if we do see anything out of the system. Tonight, temperatures, again, are going to be kind of on the mild side. I say again, actually, it was quite cool through last night. So tonight, they're going to be on the mild side. Let me phrase it like that. But look at the temperatures through tomorrow. Beautiful conditions, 18 to 20 degrees. Wednesday up around 21 with that slim chance, 30% that we'll see some showers. I didn't put the sprinkles even on the icon here. Thursday, 18, a little cooler behind that system. Friday, 21. Saturday, I do see a chance coming into the weekend of showers again. It's too soon for me to worry too much about that. Let's give it some time before we put that in there yet either.
This looks like a pretty beautiful week ahead of us. Thanks for this, Colette.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The University of Windsor has announced some changes to the action plan to tackle anti-black racism on campus. We'll break that all down next. It's been 4 months since the University of Windsor announced its action plan to tackle anti-Black racism on campus. Today, an update. Some of the steps they've taken so far include establishing an anti-Black racism working group, drawing on the experiences of Black faculty and students, planning a Board of Governors training focused on inclusive and anti-oppressive governance. And they've started preliminary planning for the external review of equity, diversity, and inclusion infrastructure at the university. But for some, not enough has been done. The CBC's Tamina Aziz reports.
Don't think this is effective. I think it's repetitive. And again, I think it's boring.
For Josh Lamers, fighting anti-Black racism on campus is a long ways away. He doesn't think the university has made any progress.
I don't think the university actually wants to address what's happening. I don't think the university actually wants to eradicate anti-Black racism. I actually think that they were banking on the fact that, you know, the energy would die down and they wouldn't have to be as responsible.
The university launched its anti-Black racism website today, announcing some of the plans it put in place and what's to come. So far, they hired an anti-Black racism strategic planning officer and a special projects coordinator. Both started today. Although they hear the skepticism about their new positions, they're optimistic about the changes they hope to bring.
You do have to come into this with a positive frame of mind. If you want the change to happen, you have to be part of the change process. I have to hold the University of Windsor accountable and myself accountable to making sure that we do provide this change on campus.
We're also bringing lived experiences. Right? We're bringing the trauma of just being a Black body in a world that doesn't want us and in an institution that wasn't built for us.
Bowers was previously elected as the president of the University Student Alliance. He says they plan to bridge the gap between students, staff, and administration. They say they're currently working on putting together a task force and hope to represent the broad range of the Black diaspora, which one student says is not something she'll benefit from short term.
What are we doing about the anti-Black racism that's taking place right now in our classrooms through Zoom, right? There's still students who are experiencing different incidences of anti-Black racism or who have in this past year, but the university has yet to address those specific incidences.
She says the voices of current students are not being heard or impacted and wants to see more viable solutions that help students now. Meanwhile, those directly involved in the action plan believe change will come. Tamina Aziz, CBC News, Windsor.
The crew on the International Space Station took delivery today of a new toilet and several research projects, all with the help of the Canadarm.
You can see Cygnus coming into view at the end of the space station's robotic arm. This is a view from the arm itself.
Now, the uncrewed Cygnus resupply ship has made the trip nearly a dozen times. This time, the cargo includes a new compact toilet and urine transfer system to make waste collection and removal more efficient. Also aboard, research projects dealing with leukemia research and growing radishes in space. 3 other spacecraft are currently docked at the ISS. It's going to return to Earth in mid-December. It is 6:29 p.m. and that is it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. That's where we'll have the latest updates on that Ward 7 by-election, a year in the making, and the results will be out later tonight. We'll also post that on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us at CBC Windsor on all of those. Power and Politics is up next. We're going to join that already in progress. Thanks for watching. Make sure you have yourselves a wonderful night tonight.